Welcome to the Pastor and Postmaster podcast. What you wanted to hear in the sermon, but you... Oh,
Hey guys,
who
we're
do we
the
have here?
Academy meets Star Wars!
Yes, that's
This
right.
is my piece of art I'm featuring because I said, doggone it, a long time ago that we would feature art here and there. And Bo is selfish and has not. Just kidding. I love Bo.
Bo is down
I love
in
you,
LA.
Bo. Where's Bo?
Yeah, where's Bo? Why is Bo in LA? What is Bo doing? Is he wearing a mask with skull teeth and...
I should have wore this to the No Kings protest. I could have really infiltrated.
Well, we do have on today a guest, a friend of mine, Daniel X. Adams. Just goes by Daniel usually. Hey, Daniel.
It's actually Daniel J. Adams.
Oh.
The X. So, like on social media,
Plus
I'll
X.
put an X there because it looks cool.
Nice.
That's why.
Isn't that funny? I claimed to be a mentor of some kind of discipler, and I thought his middle name was Xavier or something.
Cool, Ryan.
Because on the Zoom, Daniel J. Adams.
It's Jeremiah actually.
You're like, this is a different guy that we actually thought was Daniel X. Adams. So yeah, Daniel. I've known Daniel for 5 years now. I took several of the classes I'm teaching. So somehow I'm going to make this all about myself and spin it. Like I said, the postmaster is down in Los Angeles, and so
So you got the pastor and the princess.
that's right. It's gonna work. We're gonna talk
Or the
today-
pauper.
the pauper, or the
I'm just a meager
Star
pauper.
Wars.
These guys are all super intellectual. I'm just the comedic relief or the pretty face. Anyway, so sorry.
But
Go ahead.
you all those things, and you we're gonna get to talk about Generation Z because Daniel is of Generation Z.
Boom.
Because he's 25 years
He
old.
doesn't look like it with that fancy mustache, which
you.
he grew out for the show.
A young man from Generation Z
Just kidding.
texted me and called me Pops. So I'm middle-aged now because I'm 40 years old. Ooh.
You called him Pops?
He called me Pops.
I didn't call you Pops.
He didn't call me Pops, but someone else
did.
called me Pops around the same age.
Okay.
But I took it as a compliment from this young man. But I am not Generation Z. So Daniel, one of the things that we've talked about so much of this just after class, just as friends, and one of the things just about Generation Z is just the challenges. I mean, you have taught in Christian school. You're finishing your Master of Divinity. You're preaching. You're writing. You're doing it all. You have a son, and you're a little bit of an
Congrats.
anomaly. What are some of the things that make you an anomaly for Generation Z?
Yeah, where to start? Well, for one, yeah, as you mentioned, I have a son. So I feel like a lot of the people my age are getting married later and later. But me and all of my closest friends all got married pretty young. So I got married at 21 and then
Nice.
have a kid now. And we actually have a second one on the way. So
Congratulations.
pretty exciting.
Wow.
Pretty exciting. I think another thing that would probably set me apart from my generation is being Christian and wanting to pursue some form of Christian ministry. So already that's like even more segmented from the other things that my generation would do. But also, I think a lot of people in my generation are really tied into the internet, tied into social media. And there's kind of a point that I reached where I just kind of went, man, I hate this. So I am not as plugged in to the online world probably as a lot of people my age and a lot of the younger Gen Zers. But that being said, there's a lot of things I'm still within my age bracket. So, but it's also kind of weird to think about like what makes me unique within my own group because I've only ever been in my own group, right?
Feels normal.
So yeah, it feels normal. So it's like you're asking a fish what it's like to be on land. I'm like, I don't know what makes my environment so unique and different than than previous generations or the coming generation because this is all I've ever known. But I'm just me. Just me.
Well, and you are interesting, and we've talked about this many different times, many different books he's been reading, and always, of course, just a great student, great questions in the classes that I've taught, and of course, another mutual friend of ours, which is your pastor, also highly respects you, and it's encouraging, because you often see that a lot of people statistically in Generation Z are still pretty secular, more secular,
Right.
and less religious than other groups, especially in the Bay Area where you live. Just to mention Generation Z, that would be people born between, I think, around 1995 and...
I thought it was 97.
Was it
Or
97?
96. I don't even know.
Yeah, there's
It's all
generation
kind of
they're
blurry.
That probably would have been
flexible.
good to know before.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll Google it. Just kidding.
Yeah, it's
I
funny
won't.
because I hear it because millennials, I think it's between like 81 and like 94, 95.
Oh, really?
So maybe it goes to 96. You're right.
Okay.
So you're kind of, you're 99.
99.
Oh, yeah, so you're definitely solid into it.
Wow.
Yeah.
But there's some key differences. I mean, like I didn't have a cell phone till my second year of college. It was like 2005. So I remember people having them in 2003.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
I remember that.
MySpace just was coming out right when I was starting college. And I wasn't as tech savvy, still am not as much as like you are, and maybe other people my age. But that changes a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's a pretty recent thing.
Yeah.
I mean, 20 years is not
It's not a long time.
Not a long time at all. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think I got my first phone, I don't know, middle school. I had a little, not a flip phone, the ones where it's like,
It's like a BlackBerry.
no,
No?
not a BlackBerry. It like slides, and then there was the keyboard
Seen
underneath.
that. I
Yeah,
remember
so
those.
I had one of those for a long time. And then when I did get a smartphone, it was like a $80 Android, and I had that thing for I don't know 5 years, and didn't have good apps on it. It kind of stunk as a phone, but yeah,
Whether you
How
were allowed
blessed
to
you
have
are.
one that young, or it was just kind of a training phone.
sure that young. Yeah, I mean, who,
Sure.
Anymore, it's
Yeah.
like they have them when they're 4. So
yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really have friends. I was homeschooled, so.
wow.
Well, actually, that gives us an opportunity. to
Another
talk-
anomaly: a homeschool boy with a phone that young,
Yeah.
right?
Is 12, 13 that young to have a phone?
Well, freshman year is like maybe when
13, 14, right?
I guess no, I guess that's right. I guess
Now you hear like,
that's right. My daughters had theirs. It just seems so young still. It just seems wild to me.
and your
That
daughter's how old?
they're trusted with supercomputers their freshman year, huh?
How old are your daughters now?
My daughter is 16 and 15. Both had theirs freshman year. We did have training devices because it's not like I can go to my mother-in-law or my mom and be like, hey, how did you navigate the world of technology? You know, they
Great
had
point.
TVs where you had to like take a crowbar and change the channel like that. And it was rigid. But no, I didn't have anyone to ask. Kind of we're the first generation, I would say millennials,
Yeah.
to have both worlds kind of meet. We didn't have it, and then we did technology, supercomputers, and so we're just kind of the pioneering this whole. So we don't know what the best age is, kind of thing, you know. And so we did have a little tablet, you know, have like kids ones and such. So, but it's hard to navigate that. You have to go by child by child. So
Well, in my home, we had a VHS player. We had DVDs,
Oh, yeah.
CDs. I think my dad even had records.
oh wow.
But yeah, we had a landline. Not the one with the spinny thing.
Even I'm not
but,
that old.
you know,
Anything, the rotary.
Yeah, but I remember having the TV with the antennas on the top still. So
Oh, yeah.
I caught the end of that.
Yeah, you're into that.
Well-rounded,
life.
touche.
Yeah, sure.
And tell
I
us
like
a little
that.
bit about, you said about homeschool, but just maybe like a brief, maybe your testimony, like what kind of church you grew up in.
Okay, sure, yeah. So I grew up kind of non-denom Christian, non-denom evangelical here in the Bay Area, or I guess we're not here in the Bay Area, but in San Jose. I'm the youngest of 3. So my brother is 8 years older than me, and then my sister is 6 years older than me. So there's a little
Wow.
bit of a gap there. So I kind of got a lot of attention as the baby and got taken care of a lot, which is
Aw.
really neat. But I grew up in the church, so my mom kind of really became a Christian when my brother and sister were born, and she kind of realized like, oh, I want to raise them the right way. But by the time I came into the world, I was in a Christian household. So all I ever knew was the church life, and I think my mom kind of started homeschooling because my brother was kind of small. My brother and sister are both kind of smaller people, and my mom got bullied when she was a kid, so she didn't want that for them. But then additionally, my mom was listening to a lot of like James Dobson, and got on board with like, I think I'm gonna homeschool them. I think this is gonna
Right.
be good. So that's kind of the world I came into. But even within the homeschool world, right? So like the stereotype is like you don't have any friends. Maybe you're kind of socially awkward, cling to your parents. And I saw some of that, but I also had a lot of friends that were not like that. And I think even within our community, there were different types of homeschoolers. So I think some were more sheltered and liked the world they grew up in. Some were eager to like break out of that because they thought it was lame. Others were kind of in between. That's probably where I was. But yeah, so I saw a lot of extremism where it like the kids kind of rebelled immediately after they can get out of the house.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw a lot that like really walked the path well
Wow.
coming out of that. But my mom, differently than the other homeschool parents, allowed us to like play with Pokemon cards.
Right.
And, like,
Thank
oh,
God,
you're not
because I'm
supposed
doing
to-
that with my kids.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to make you, I don't want you to be weird because I was completely public schooled, Ben was
Sure.
completely homeschooled, kind of
Sure.
the Dobson life. And we decided, well, somewhere in the middle, I think but he's a lot like you where he graduated like kind of normal. Like he's a normal.
I mean,
Normal guy.
I think I'm normal.
You are very normal.
But
Thank you.
thank you.
So far.
So far. My mom let like we would watch. So my mom's Mexican, and we'd watch telenovelas growing up.
Wow.
And we'd record them and like to make sure we didn't miss an episode. But obviously there's like a lot of like sexual content and romantic content. So my mom didn't hide that from us.
Right.
But she just made sure to like show it to us
Disciple you,
and talk us through it. So we'd be watching a telenovela and there would be something would come on and the dude cheats on his girlfriend or whatever, and my mom would pause it and then like give us a little like,
Good for her.
Oh,
hey,
Good for
what's
her. Yeah.
what did he do wrong? What
She
should he
wouldn't,
have
like, throw
done?
it out.
Yeah, and
She
so
didn't break
we
her.
kind of had a lot of those discussions about those topics, and my family's pretty talkative. I'm probably the
This
quieter
sounds a
one.
lot like
You're the
my
quieter one.
husband's family. Are we?
Need to meet up.
What if they knew each other?
We regularly would have to like talk over each other to get our
that's
thoughts
so
in.
funny.
But yeah, I think my mom did a really good job at exposing us to things, not trying to shelter us, but also trying to make sure that
Right on.
we had, I guess I'm not trying to say controlled thinking, but guided thinking and guided exposure.
That's great.
So I liked that, and
like
I
that
think that's what I would like to do with my own kids as well. And I think even to what you were saying, because I was a high school Bible teacher for a short period, and I think that's the same approach I wanted to have with my students as well, of guided exposure, right?
That's
so it's not. We're not helping our next generation of Christians by, holding them really tight to our sides and not letting them experience the outside world. You kind of need to experience that, but need to be able to have a place to think about it, because if not, you step into that sphere and someone else does the thinking for you,
Wow,
right?
yeah.
So.
And you did step into that, because one of the things that was interesting to me when the first class I taught that you were in, you mentioned that you went to San Jose State and did philosophy, which is like the stereotype type is like philosophies where you go to like, if you're kind of already skeptical or like definitely leaving the faith. So like that alone, like
Wow.
So tell us a little bit about the experience there.
Yeah, so I went to community college first, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. My dad kept pressing me with the question that I hated, and he would just be like, "Hey, Daniel, so what do you want to do with your life?" And I was like, "Man, I have no idea." I had these like idealistic dreams and visions of what I'm gonna do, but were totally unrealistic. But so when I got into community college, I started as a communication studies major, because I had kind of felt a calling towards preaching. And I just realized, hey, I don't have a lot of experience with public speaking, and I'm kind of like afraid of that. So I thought I would do that. But in community college, I was very zealous about my faith and having a lot of conversations. I would walk around with my ESV study Bible around campus and this sweater that just said, "Jesus is God" in bold letters. And so it drew conversations, and then I would approach people and have conversations about the faith. And particularly at the college I was at, there was a pretty high Muslim demographic. So I would have a lot of those interreligious conversations about the faith. And I started to realize if I wanted to be an effective evangelist, it required me to genuinely think through the thoughts and ideas of other people. So I couldn't just invite my Muslim friend to my Christian club or to my church. I had to be able to show them the willingness to go to their mosque as well, right? And so if I want them to read the New Testament,
you got to read the Quran.
I got to read the Quran,
That's what we always say on this show. That's funny that you say that. Bo always says that.
Yeah, I mean, I just watched your last episode that was like, yeah, I watched it last night or 2 nights ago or whatever.
Yeah, it was released 2 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I saw it the night of. Yeah.
You can appreciate the
Ahead.
details. You know, one thing about it, we're going back and forth just about like how the details are so important if someone's a Muslim, like Bo was pointing out, if you like mix up the names and don't get the lineages right, like that. You know,
Yeah.
if you don't care to know the facts of another religion.
Yeah. Well, and I think so I was being very evangelistic. I got really into apologetics, and that was what led me to the route of wanting to study philosophy. But then I started realizing my tone and attitude kind of changed for that. So with apologetics, you're starting with the idea of I'm right. And now I'm going to do what I can to gather all the evidence to show you that
Yeah.
I'm right. And that's not always an effective attitude or approach to have with people.
Totally.
Right? So if I'm going to approach you and trying to convince you like, hey, you should test the waters here, coming to you in a conversation that says, hey, you have ideas, I have ideas, my ideas are correct. None of your ideas are correct. and let me tell you
I have
the
the
truth.
truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
It feels arrogant.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
And so, and I started noticing within apologetic circles that sometimes there's a bit of a misrepresentation of other religious views and stuff like that. And I'm noticing that as an insider, and it was making me uncomfortable, right? And I was like, man, this is not going to reach the people we're trying to reach if we keep having this attitude. So I picked up a Quran. I went with them to their mosque. I started realizing I want to study other ideas, and I am not afraid of that because I believe Jesus is the truth. And if Jesus is the truth, why should I be afraid of
Amen.
exposing myself to other ideas? Because ultimately, if I'm guided by a pursuit of truth, I should be led back to where I'm at, right? And if not, then I'm finding truth or I'm pursuing truth, right? So I kind of had to have that attitude switch in myself of just saying, I want to genuinely pursue truth and be exposed to other ideas. And so then when I finished my time at my community college and I moved over to the university, I was not fully on board with doing that, but I had in the back of my mind that I would be interested in studying philosophy. And so I actually transferred over as a comm studies major. But the school that I was at, their communication studies department was so impacted. So I realized, like, if I wanted to finish in time, like, it wasn't going to happen. Like, my first semester there, I only got into one class I needed for my major.
That's not good.
So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a bunch of philosophy classes and do that as my minor. And then I went to the philosophy department and started signing the paperwork for that. And they pretty easily convinced me, like, hey, you could just jump ship and come join us over here. And I was like, you know what? That sounds great. I don't know if my mom loved me studying the philosophy for my degree,
Wow, yeah.
but I adored it, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I feel like it's set me up in some really good ways going forward.
And it really does help a lot with if you're taking seminary, especially more academic classes. The philosophy background is super helpful. So when you told me that, I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
I want to think about like a little bit of discipleship, a question more of that nature. Like with your generation, like in discipleship, of course, that phrase, if you're not familiar with that phrase, and you're just basically being instructed or being mentored spiritually would be what it is. How do you think for your generation, discipleship, some differences maybe of previous ones, some of your maybe experiences there, you could share that with us?
Sure. So I guess even to what I said earlier of like, it's hard to know what makes this unique than previous generations because I'm not part of previous generations, but just from what I've seen and even right now in the seminary I'm taking, I'm finishing up the final paper for my class on, what's it called? Educational ministry of the church.
Leadership, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like on Christian education within the church, right? So Sunday school classes and whatnot. And the book that we're reading or that I'm reading has a lot of things that just don't meet what my church is doing and what I think of when I think of how to do discipleship, right? So I guess maybe the model before was like you have classes, and I guess recently finding this out about myself that I love the classroom. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy there, but I think there's maybe some things that are being missed there, of course, which is just like genuine personal relationship and interaction because, hey, I have maybe good theology, but I would really love some guidance on how to do taxes or how to, how to deal with this particular relational issue I'm having with my wife or something like that, right? And so that's not something you're gonna be able to learn as well in a classroom setting, you kind of need just someone who's gone through it and who you think does it well to kind of give you some pointers on that, I think. So yeah, I think maybe it's because of how in tune my generation is to the online world that we're very secluded.
Yeah.
It's very easy to kind of cut yourself off from the world. And in one sense, and that's the funny thing about social media, right? You can like be, you can know everything about everyone, or at least what they'll show you, to people who you've never met who are halfway around the world. But because of just the ever present, screen in your face, it kind of makes it harder to have personal relationships. And
Totally true.
Yeah, and so I think deep down, like we want people, and we want people who know us. The desire to be known and to be approved of, accepted, based on the knowledge of you, I think is like runs really deep. So yeah, knowing people who know you intimately and still accept you and approve of you and love you and will guide you through life, I think that's that doesn't feel like something that's probably just unique to my generation. But I think maybe because of how secluded social media can kind of make people, I think maybe there's a deepening desire for those interpersonal relationships.
Well, one question I've for you, Daniel J. X. Adams, is is just about the social media account. So this is something that I'm sure you experience, maybe understand existentially in a way that I don't, which is that you have a following, say, that's not your literal person, and then you have a life you live outwardly, externally in the real world, what we would think is the real world, and then you have this separate one where you have a following and it's online and your parents don't know, your friends don't know. Which is the real one?
Yeah. So I think I don't know, maybe not every.
The challenge.
I think a lot of kids have like a fantasy world in their head of like who they would be if they could. I know I've had that, right? You dream about something that you could become and you really fall in love with that idea. And I think social media gives you the opportunity to make yourself into the person you want to be and kind of present yourself as you want to be seen. So if you want to be, ratchet, you can be ratchet. If you want to be super, clean, organized, perfect, pretty life, you can do that. If you want to be edgy, you can do that. And you can have multiple accounts. So you can have different accounts for different things, right? And so it's a pretty common thing at this point that
it is.
You'll have like a public account, which your friends and family friends are on, and your parents are on.
Boomers.
But then you have your private account, which actually has your real stuff, where you're actually saying the stuff you want to say, and you might have a spam account. So you can have multiple accounts for different faces that you want to wear. And I think even within myself, I've had those moments where I've like you kind of hit this existential split in the road, and you kind of go, who do I want to be, right? Do I want to be a manly man and get into beer, cigars, guns, or do I want to be
a Calvinist?
Do I want to be a proper reader,
kidding.
scholar, theologian? Do I want to be a rapper? Like whatever it is. Like you have maybe different faces that you have thought about wearing, and I've felt that like split between what do I really want to be? Who do I really want to like? What's going to be my character defining thing? Right. And the thing is about being a person is you're not static, you're dynamic, and you do change and shift over time, and events change you, and so I guess you can be different people that are maybe not you on the everyday life. So even the way you framed the question, right, is like, what's the real you?
Already questioning what's the real.
Right.
Is the real you the you that you want to be, the you that you present yourself to be? Or is the real you the the 24-hour day.
And the hard
life
part,
at
of
home.
course, for discipleship part, and you don't have this that I know of, so I guess I don't think even think that this is applying to you. Maybe it does. Maybe you have an alter ego account, and I've never known the real you. Is that?
I guess we'll see.
When you find out someone has something like this, do you address it straightforward, or do you like that? That's the
Great
challenging.
question. That's a great question, right? Because we've had those challenges, in churches. We know of people have had that.
Yeah. I definitely know some people who their life is like totally a mess and falling apart. And then everything on the surface is just like, look, I'm standing in front of a nice car, or, whatever it is to make yourself look like
Do you
you're
think
like,
it pertains to what we were saying earlier, where you were talking about how you want to raise your kids with being like gentle, not being so like hard, like brutal, I would say, because I mean, you could easily be like, you'd have to knock that off, or you're, we're gonna discipline you, church discipline, but kind of a same take, you would same kind of approach as raising your kid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I
know your son's only a toddler, so
Yeah.
Does he have an account you don't know about?
when I think about expression is important to, like, I don't know, I guess discover. Someday. I mean, Jordan Peterson is kind of when he was defending his like free speech stuff, he said like you have to be able to speak freely because that's how you think, right?
Yep.
And I'm probably more of a, what do they call them? The outward processor?
External processor.
External processor. Yeah.
Yep.
So like I like talking through my ideas. So if I don't have a friend that I can talk them through with, I'll like talk to a wall or I'll write them down or whatever. But I need to like get them out to like realize whether I actually think them or not. And a lot of that stuff I'm saying, I might not actually like believe at a convictional level, but I'm thinking through it, right? And so it's like I'm trying to figure it out as I'm going as well. So I think in some sense, like having a format, having a location where you can try it out and feel it out. What is it like to express yourself in this way? Can be important. But that being said, the internet's kind of forever, and
You may regret.
you might change your mind 3 months later and be like, oh, that's not the type of person I want to be.
And even as a student, if you're inevitably someone sees it. Even for people that are our age, the pops among us, they'll say things that on their social media account publicly that kind of become compromised. Because I've had this where people I've known have wanted to be pastors, and then someone said, "Well, did you see the post they did here? This would offend other people." So for many Generation Z, which is something that I was not familiar with, you would have this other account, but someone eventually finds out, hey, it's linked to this person.
Yeah.
And so you're like thinking, okay, do I talk to them? And how much leeway with the freedom of expression?
Yeah.
It's not like stomp out that account, do this again, because like you said, I think part of the answer is knowing who they really are helps you kind of sift through the different masks.
But also I think with social media too, it's not just a platform for you to express yourself, but it's a place where conversations are being had, right? So and I think this is kind of common knowledge that social media tries to kind of like lean into the things that's going to make you stay on the app longer, right? So it's going to show you the controversial stuff.
Yeah,
it's
your
gonna show
algorithm.
you the stuff. Yeah, the algorithm.
I'm ashamed of my algorithm.
But it's going to show you stuff that's gonna keep you watching. And what do we know? Like people put more energy into things that make them angry, right? So
true.
like naturally in everyday life, I might not have any conversations about political things, but because you're on social media and because of the nature of the back and forth dialogue that's going on there, you just feel like, oh, I gotta say something.
I gotta say something.
And I gotta
now.
jump into this conversation.
I hate that.
And then you jump into the conversation and you're like,
I got played.
whoa, yeah. And you realize like I got angry and expressed myself when I was angry, and you don't want to do that.
I could never run for office, you guys.
Yeah. And so I don't know. And yeah, definitely I would say your average person doesn't have the self-control to be able to like recognize in themselves like, maybe I should keep my mouth shut because this could actually damage the relationships I have with people in real life because of how I choose to use my social media account, right?
That would be a good way to approach. It's just that warning, not such a harsh, punishment, but just like that. If we see people going down that road, and like in our youth and stuff, like we would want to approach them with that very same
Attitude.
attitude. Yeah, it's just these are the reasons why you shouldn't.
Yeah, be
you shouldn't be
careful.
saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, be careful.
And I think also, when you're thinking about, people individually, that they see who you are and who you are with them face to face. Like, like you're
Yes.
hanging out, you and Michaela are hanging out with my wife and I at our house. And I, yeah, it's funny. Like, I mean, you've been a student, so that kind of just happens because I'm teaching the class. And so we became friends, one thing I've tried to be with all my students in the classes have all been a pretty small size, or the most I think I've had is like 12 or 13 students. Is I've always been like, you can always text me and call me.
Yeah.
And most students, I would say at least half, have like contacted me about more like pastoral stuff. And I've always like been like, listen, I'm not a big name scholar, or I don't pretend to be. So like, I have the time and I will make time for you.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And let me just say, I think your approach to the classroom is probably the biggest influence on my approach to the classroom. So, like when we were doing our theology courses together, right? You would start it with reading scripture, and we'd end with singing a song. And I liked that idea, so I took it with me to my church when I was teaching some apologetics and some Psalms classes at the church, right? We'd start with the scripture reading, and then we'd close with like a little singing of a song that related to the topic. Like I really liked that stuff. But then even how you formatted the notes kind of inspired the way I kind of format my notes when I'm teaching, and the handouts I give to my students. But also,
I'll
I think
pay you later for this.
yeah. But I think the relational side to your teaching that I think really was good was the periods between the actual lecturing period,
Oh,
right?
wow.
The 10 minutes between where you're not like hunkering down, wanting to remove yourself from the students. You wanted to be with us and having conversations with us, and it makes me feel like I'm not below you or beneath you.
Amen.
You kind of spoke to us like we were friends.
Yep.
And I think it made the conversations very genuine. It made it very easy to talk to you, and all of us in the class know.
If it's fake.
Even if that too, but even if we're talking to you like we're buddies that are equals, we know that we're not equals. We know that you are much more educated than us, and we know that you've earned our respect already by the manner that you speak and by the things that you teach us. We're actually learning things in your lectures, so
So he's discipling you in a sense, like to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
But
that's
I mean, so here was one thing that the school really wanted me to do a lot, right? Which is a common thing in schools is like, hey, you call me by my title, right? So you don't call me by my name. I'm Mr. So-and-so, or in your case, Dr. So-and-so, right? Doctor last name. I text you, I call you, and I always just call you by your first name, right? Which could be deemed as disrespectful, but you've never talked to me as though what me talking to you in that way is disrespectful. So I continue to do it, and it makes me feel a sense of like I can actually talk to you in a way that I think is that I need,
Genuine,
right?
yeah.
And genuine. So when I was with my students, I wanted to also be heavily relational as well. So I liked the actual process of putting together teaching material and teaching the material and seeing eyes light up and light bulbs going off in kids' heads. I thought that was super, super fun. But as well, I wanted to be present and
Relational with them, yeah.
relational
That's crazy. That's
and
crazy.
able to speak in a way that that they understand, in a way that they can relate to. So I think even my approach to how I handled, I guess you could call it discipleship in the classroom, was maybe inspired by kind of how you kind of even led our classrooms in the seminary. I think when you try to have the students call you by your title or whatever, it's to make sure there's that distinction, right? To make sure that like, hey, we're not buddy. I need to respect you and learn from you, and not be playful too much or whatever, right?
That's great, right?
But
Rabbi Ryan.
Rabbi, yeah.
Rabbi.
I mean,
that's good.
teacher.
Yeah, but I think like I said with you, I think you didn't need to flash your title or flash your credentials to earn our respect or make us want to listen to you, because you had important and thoughtful things to say that made us think. So I think I think I did that with my classroom as well, that I could have fun and make jokes and play around, do dumb things with my students, but I could also bring them material that showed that I invested a lot into wanting them to learn. And I think they respected me for that effort and for some of the conversations I made us have in the classroom. So I think I didn't have to. And the funny thing about where I was teaching at is I was and I guess this makes sense. I'm 25, but I was the youngest teacher among the secondary teachers, and then I was teaching juniors and seniors, right? And I think
they're only
I started,
a few years younger than you. 7 years younger than you.
Yeah, the students were kind of tripping out when I first started. They were like, "Man, you're only 6 years older than me, or whatever," right? So it was strange there, and I thought initially, like, I was kind of fearful of whether I would be able to maintain a kind of a professional distance or whatnot. But like I said, I think I was able to show I genuinely really cared about my students. I care about them learning and what they take out of this. And I wanted to provide an environment where they can learn and think. Like, so when I was saying, the place where you can expose your ideas and see whether they actually work or not in a safe environment, right? So as opposed to social media, this can be a space where you can say what you're thinking, even if you don't believe it, and just try to figure out whether that's something you do kind of actually believe, but you've never realized or whatnot. So I think having those spaces, I know
that's really
the safe space.
That's really post-relative.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk post-reality of you. So the facial hair really is aging you. So it's really good. It reminds me of my husband. Actually, we started our business and stuff at 22, like started getting going at life basically. And he would always have clients just being like, "Well, how old are you? Honey." They always call him honey. "How old are you, honey?" And he would always, cringe to have to say he was 24, 25, because that's really when we got really going with the business. He's a landscape contractor, and it would really bother him. But anyway, I just thought, grow out some facial. So he would grow out he does. And they take him a little more seriously. I don't know. I just think that's a little funny.
You did a picture right over there. Yeah. It could show how young you look.
Oh yeah, I'll put our picture and I'll show you how young we were.
Yeah, well,
and how his facial hair is old.
When I was teaching, I mean, we were supposed to wear like really fancy button-ups, and I was advised to actually dress up. That way I can, like, because I'm younger, I have to maybe dress up more than some of the older
or compensate another area.
Yeah, but I just, I don't like tying my shoes, so I would wear like fancy, like nice shoes. I would wear nice shoes, but I would leave them untied for like most of the day. It was pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be looking professional, and then I would just like, I'm like, I just want to wear a hoodie,
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You always wore a hoodie with, in class. I remember that too. Yeah, Gateway Golden Gate always had kind of a reputation of being pretty casual. So I actually dressed nicer than most. I dressed down a little more now at Bell Road than when I first got there. I was wearing the full suit.
Yep. I was going to say something also that you mentioned, that the Ryan Rendell's, I appreciated, because when we heard he was a doctor, it's like, okay. Well, actually, I've been praying for someone who was really, it's wild. I was praying for someone sound with, like, someone who was young, sound in their faith, and not arrogant, because I really hate that so much. And I also wanted someone who had kids, my kids' age. And then, like, 2 weeks later, we heard that Dr. Rendell's was coming, and I'm like, wow, who is this guy, Because we had been through pastor, through speaker, and going to try to find a pastor, going through many of them. And I was like, oh, and it just stuck. And because he was really, his wife was really very comforting, and they would listen, and they weren't just thinking about the next thing they were going to say about themselves. And it was just really cool. And actually, my son wants to be a pastor. Wow. And I'm like, this is perfect, because this guy will disciple you. Seems like it worked well for you. And so it's encouraging to hear from me, honestly. Especially while we living in this post reality generation.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that. And I think part of my own upbringing, I mean, I was like, I see myself as like an underdog. I think I some people underachieve with what they're like people expect of them. I think I probably did better. I mean, I remember some of my Sunday school teachers like, yeah, you have done a lot better than what we thought you would. So it's kind of like I definitely have like an underdog perspective on world. So I've always been like, I was always had the lowest grade point average of like my siblings, and so
really? Yeah.
so I've worked really doggedly hard. So I definitely don't have I never got puffed up too much. So
Good for you.
But anyway, but thank you for that. And hey, your wife right now is hanging out with my wife, and so I think investing those personal things are important. Speaking of post reality, because this does connect to that, is there's so much loneliness in part because of some of the social media outlets or addictions or whatever. Like, do you see a lot of people being lonely, like in your classes, or do you notice that? Or
Of course, but before I kind of tackle that, do you mind defining what you mean by post reality? I think that'd be helpful.
Ooh, yeah, I think, gosh, I need to look up the
Relativism?
Stanford Dictionary of Philosophy or something to get that out. You have these official
go.
definitions. I mean, as I
Dr.
understand
Ryan.
post reality, exactly. What kind of doctor are you? But post reality, I think, is a phrase I've heard used that pertains to basically how like the digital world, AI and stuff being so, I guess, mirroring reality.
Sure.
That people can presumably live.
Yeah. There are people who live in a 3D reality. Like they live in their little VR headset. They really do. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And transhumanism, of course, would be a part of that too. I mean, obviously, we are cyborgs. I mean, when you think about just a pacemaker, a boomer's pacemaker, is an aspect where you are a kind of cyborg. You're kind of a hybrid. But yeah, especially now where, I mean, the stories about people, having these romantic affairs with AI.
gosh,
Oh yeah,
and so,
they made a movie about that with the guy that played Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, is that right?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin.
Yeah.
Tomatoes,
it's called Her.
tomatoes.
It's called Her. I don't know if it's appropriate movie to recommend.
That's all right.
But
This is online.
Yeah, but the movie is about him kind of falling in love with his AI, who's voiced by Scarlett Johansson.
That's dark.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
really interesting movie.
And so a lot of people then obviously at the end of the day, there's nothing there except
Yeah.
maybe your own mirror image. So, I mean, the loneliness, how do you think that you were able to address that? I mean, because the question always is, how open are people to share that?
Yeah. Yeah. Post reality. Do you mind? re-asking the question? Because I kind of lost track. Of what the question was.
How do you deal with people who live so much of their life in what is the not sensory, non-empirical world? People that are spending more time with their headsets, more times on their phone, see the Chat GTP voice as more real than face to face. They can't look you in the eye when you see them.
Yeah.
That
Oh my
that
gosh,
kind of world.
Such a problem.
How do you interact with them? How do you help them out of that?
Or do you know anybody like that? Or do you know that?
Yeah, I know some people like that who for sure are. I mean, I can understand why a person might lean that direction, right? Like you're already experiencing maybe rejection from people in your life, and you just want to close down. You want to find something safe, and hey, Chat GPT isn't gonna like tell you when you're wrong, I guess, in the same way that your friend might be, right? So it's like it's easy to kind of hunker down into that, but maybe not realizing that only builds on the loneliness. And it does give you kind of give you like these relationships, but they're pseudo relationships, right? Because they're not fully they're not genuine totally. So I think even some of that, I didn't even realize the depth of genuineness and authenticity that you can have in a relationship until I got married.
Wow.
Right? Because then it's like, okay, like there's always a back door with every relationship of you can get out. You can always get out, and you always know that like if I go too far, like it's over, right?
Yep.
But as soon as you're like really covenanted to a person or to people, like in a church setting, right? You realize that like this one single event or moment doesn't break that relationship, right? But
and people are more interesting. Real life people are way more interesting than anything online. But some people don't have those relationships.
Yeah. And I mean, man, the way that I can think through a really, really deep and complex idea in like 5 seconds, and it's here and out, and it takes me maybe 15 minutes to explain what I thought of in 5 seconds. But yeah, like people are exciting. And their ideas are exciting. And
they're always new.
And their perspective is exciting.
Kind of like post-relativism or post-reality. That's a new one, huh?
Yeah.
Huh, fellas?
So yeah.
Just kidding. What is the newest trend that doesn't even make sense to you? Do you have any of those fun little?
Well, the thing with being on social media is the trends are like they last like
Witch talk.
a week.
Witch talk was a thing for a while.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like witchcraft
On TikTok.
on TikTok.
Yeah.
Promoting witchcraft.
Great. Or
Awful.
not great. Yeah,
Not
sorry,
great.
awful. That's what I meant to say.
But a great
Very bad.
example.
Great example of no, but
Show us your accounts.
there's things that enter into the sphere and they're gone so fast.
Yeah.
So like the newest one that I heard of that I thought was pretty funny is this thing called aura farming. Right? Have you seen that
No,
video of
dang it. What
the Indonesian kid? He's standing on the front of this boat and there's like a boat race and he's like dancing on the front of the boat and it gets clipped. And it's and they put this track behind it and it's aura farming. It's like doing something like super super cool.
Whoa.
So it's like aura is like your your vibe, and then farming like you're growing it, you're producing it.
What do you think? What are your thoughts on those crazy AI videos? Not being able to tell. I can tell when people have 6 fingers. I can
producer.
tell. I
Yeah,
can
when a
tell.
finger looks
I do
like
a lot of jokes with AI on my editing stuff, but like in all reality, sometimes you can't even.
You can't.
It's hard to tell.
I mean, I think I saw like a clip. It was like Tucker Carlson and like I don't remember Jordan Peterson or something like that, right? And he's like saying something, and I'm like, wow, he said that? No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. Yeah,
He didn't.
It's wild.
But it's just like, but it doesn't sound off because it's like studying him
close
Taking
enough.
from
and
him.
replicating him, but having him say something wild.
Wild.
And you're like,
where do you think this all leads?
Oh, Pope Leo has a sermon that's viral about like gay
Oh.
marriage. That's not real. It's totally AI. But
yeah.
So
Well,
true.
I mean, so in the last year you had that beef between Drake and Kendrick.
Oh,
And
yeah, that was
and,
nuts.
and Drake got he got
Huh?
an AI Snoop Dogg and AI Tupac on his track, kind of taking shots at Kendrick.
Dang.
Yeah, he caught a lot of backlash for
Yeah,
that though.
that's bad.
LA was not happy with him for that.
LA.
wow.
Yeah, but yeah, like you can do so much of creating things that aren't, and sometimes you can tell, and sometimes you can't. So it's trippy.
One thing I would say, I mean, maybe we can kind of maybe, it's so much we can talk about, and so much we're going to talk afterwards. It's not on this podcast, but
We'll do another session.
we'll do another set with you. It's just the idea of fear, because I know that's a big theme, and several friends of ours talked about just nihilism and just people's generally this fear of the world, and you've done a lot of things that people would be afraid of, getting married.
I'm afraid of him.
Yeah, you're afraid.
I do them anyways. But
Having a kid. I mean, we talked about that in
Yeah.
Chair a little personally. You talked about after your wife at Theo, and just like, is it? Oh my gosh, can I have another kid? Like people would say like, well, why would you do that? Like you're like, how do you know if you're fully secure? Like, how do you break through the fear that seems to cripple so many people? They have so much control of their lives compared to other generations, but they still are paralyzed.
Yeah.
They can't know every outcome.
Well, I think a lot of things lead to kind of that fear. Like one, things you might not have thought to be afraid of, right? Like the internet will show you, oh, you should be afraid of this, right?
Be afraid
Like,
of this.
You should be afraid of bugs in your, strawberries
Parasites.
or whatever, right? Yeah, like something that
Should
you
be afraid of
didn't
parasites.
realize that you could even be afraid of.
Exposed to
is
something.
suddenly now like the thing that's at the forefront of your mind. And the thing about the internet as well is it's not representative of the scale of reality. So what I mean by that is like, right, if I were to show you 5 clips of me shooting a basketball and missing every time, that doesn't represent reality. I make most of those, but the shots that you're displaying are just a small portion of the totality, right? So it's like, getting your face kind of deformed by some crazy parasite maybe only happens once every, I don't know how long, with over millions and millions of people. But because you saw it right in your face on your phone, it's suddenly very real and very present and can happen to you, right? So it's like, something that might never happen to you and would probably never happen to you, you're worrying about because it's right there in your face on your screen, right? So it's like you can have these fears that are out of proportion, that are disproportional to what actually happens in real life.
WebMD, man. Googling all your symptoms.
Right? Yeah.
I mean,
I've done that before.
we're guilty. Guilty.
I remember just a few months ago reading about Val Kilmer had throat cancer, and then having a cold, and then I was like looking at the symptoms. I was like, my voice is still shot from a cold. I was like, I have throat cancer. I'm like Val Kilmer.
I love that you're just honest about
I
that.
know. I was like, I know it. I know I got it. I can feel this lump. I know. And he ignored it because of his Scientology. And I can't ignore it like a Gnostic. Because there's all symptoms. There we go. I have them all.
Yeah. Confirmation bias.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's easy to find. It's easy to find one or two links that link to you, and then you're like, oh, I need to be afraid of this. Yeah. But there's a lot of other things that can lead to being afraid. I mean, the having so many choices in front of you, having so many options available, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. It's like if you
It's like a Baptist buffet.
a Baptist buffet.
Sorry, keep going.
Non-denoms. Yeah. No, I mean, so
No.
I recently went on a missions trip to Spain, and I didn't have to pay for anything on the trip, which was really, really nice. It was sponsored through the seminary, but I hardly even had to pick where we got to eat, and I loved it. I didn't have to make any choices, right? Like I just kind of got to sit back and be a part of whatever we were doing. And my leader tells me we're going to do this. Okay, we're going to go do that. I don't have the pressure of making a decision. And I think in our era, there's so many decisions to be made and so many options available that it's just like it can be overwhelming, be anxiety inducing.
And there are so many podcast choices. And you've chosen the
so
best
many.
one today, have you?
You chose wisely.
You chose wisely. Yeah, well, thank you, Daniel. I mean, I think we'll wrap it up. I mean, I'm sure we'll have you on again because we're friends and I'm biased towards you. And you said some nice things about me.
Okay.
There you go. You just bought your way in.
But I do hope, exactly. I hope it does encourage people that are looking at you, and especially maybe some of you out there, have grandkids or kids that are Generation Z. And
There's hope.
There's hope. There's encouragement. Every generation faces the despair and remember the positive things and listen, live in embodied life, get off this podcast now. So we better end it lest we be guilty of making you live post reality.
Can I actually say a little something on that too?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, right before I started teaching, I was like in a kind of transition moment in my life where I was realizing like, man, I have this philosophy degree. I'm studying all this stuff with the Bible. I'm really excited about it. I want to teach on it, and I didn't have a platform. And so I thought to myself like, man, maybe I should start like a YouTube channel or a podcast. And so I started it for a month before I got my teaching job, and then I realized, okay, let me abandon that and just focus on teaching actual people. But I've struggled with that tension of wanting to, realizing the internet's here to stay, right? So you can either remove yourself entirely from it because you're recognizing how damning it can be, or you could say, well, because it's here, we have to figure out how to use it and use it well. And that's where, and obviously you've chosen your path. It's something that I still struggle with, right? I'm like, do I want to contribute to the just noise that goes on in the world? And yeah, I know. Well, but the thing is, even good noise, even like listening to good preachers or good podcasts, like or just reading books, which I do a lot of, right? It's still just it's sound, right? And every now and then, so you kind of just want to disconnect from it and just be like, I just need peace.
You have to.
I need to be able to hear God, even, right? And you kind of have to step out of those things, and so you kind of feel that tension of, do I add meaningful contribution to the noise that people are experiencing, or do I just try to remove myself out of the noise? And I think the right answer is probably to step in and actually contribute to it because there are people who are listening.
Amen.
And
Amen.
And because I mean, there's just such an opportunity
We have to
right now.
exercise self-control, like you said. Like,
Yeah.
we have to make sure we're disciplining ourselves to have those moments of quiet.
Yeah.
So I think if you can do that, step into it. And people who can't do that need to step out of it.
Yeah.
But we're not stepping out.
We're not. We're here.
So subscribe, like, and share this. And
So that everyone else can experience.
Yeah. I guess you be the judge of that. If you unfollow us, I guess we'll get the message. Otherwise, I hope it blesses you, and join us for the next one.
We're going to get out of
And
here.
we'll have the postmaster back. Godspeed.
May the odds
Peace out.
be ever in your favor.
That's the wrong.
Oh, wait. That's not
To
strong.
infinity and beyond.
May the force be with you.
No,
Bye, guys.
I don't think a stormtrooper would be saying that.